Abbas.
Okay, thank you. Well, looking at the regional powers are as strong and as important as their friends inside Iraq are. If you are Iran, for example, and you have the majority who are your potential friends, you have more leverage inside the process of Iraq, the political process in general. Iran's interests I see them as follows. One of them is basically to maintain the Iraqi stance on Syria, and they do like Prime Minister Maliki's plan and action for Syria, an action that is quite frankly more viable has been than others, and Iran like that, so they want that to continue. They are one of the things that they will consider if there is a prime minister that is coming to Iraq, what he will be doing with Syria. The other issue is internal. Iran is interested in having a strong position for the Shia, but not too strong to be out of the Iranian management possibilities. They do not want a very strong Shia who's able to tell the Iranians sorry too many times. So that's why you see them not wanting to alienate anyone, but also supporting one group and another in a dynamic that keeps the Shia quasi-united, but not fully united, to a point where they develop an interest of their own. It's a safety margin for the Iranians. A third thing for Iran is of course the economic and the religious part, and this is very important. However, Iran's hands in Iraq are often overrated. First, because if you look at the population, there isn't that much support inside Iraq for a strong Iranian role. Even the Marja'iyya, I did speak with Sistani's son for quite a long time, and most of the talk that he was bragging about being able to contain Iranian influence in Najaf and beyond, and they do want to have the Shia of Iraq to develop an interest of their own, not to give up a lot of power to the Iranians, because there is a lot of dynamic going on in the Marja'iyya itself and also in what it wants for the Iraqi people. Their Iranian strong interest in Iraq, or strongest influences over the political parties, and not all of them also. So we have to really be careful when we speak about that. The Turks are the same. I mean, I would defer to my friends on what they said about the Turks, but the Turks initially started as a very positive influence in Iraq in the beginning after 2003. Then Erdogan's government turned to be playing a very negative role, to the point of having sort of shouting words against the Iraqi government over sectarian issues. Then their role in the past months has faded much because they put a lot of investment of their interest in the Syrian issue. So they left Iraq a little bit towards more interest in Syria, not to mention the internal problems the Turkish government has, and with all of the issues of corruption and other internal dynamics in Turkey. I would give more to the Saudis. The Saudis are a menace towards Iraq. They have never given Iraq any serious interest in establishing diplomatic relations. In the Gulf, most of the money that comes to the terrorism is there. The ideology that is the venom that hits Iraq hard comes from Saudi mosques. Now, there are other people who slice the issue saying, well, it's not government. There isn't really a defined line in any Gulf states between what is government and what is private. And when they want to have an ironclad against some barrier against something, they will have it. When they want to have a laissez-faire, they do. So it is very important to really give much more rate to the Saudis. And what makes it even worse is that everything that goes on in the area, not just in Iraq, in Syria, and Lebanon, and Yemen, and Bahrain, it is all there is a dimension of an Iranian-Saudi conflict and competition over a foothold, and wherever one of them loses some foothold, they want to compensate elsewhere. So I would give more. I mean, you are right, the Saudis, they are the easier target when it comes to blaming, but it is not really paranoia. It is, I would say, it's a healthy paranoia when you think about the Saudis if you are from the inside Iraq. The rest of I think a few inject the U.S. and beyond the other international interest in this election. The ambassador is quite, really right, and in terms of looking at it as a very important election, not just for Iraq, not just for the region, but also for the international community, because the United States right now is facing a very important juncture where the U.S.-Iraqi relations are going. The ambassador has talked until he's blue in the face about the importance of really activating U.S.-Iraqi agreements and not to let all of the work that has been done by both countries to go in vain because of sort of someone sleeping on the switch. That's very important. And this election, if anything, it has the potential of writing the at least short-term future of Iraq in terms of who will be taking over and what kind, more importantly, as Saif said, not just who will be, because this election sadly has been over just whether or not Maliki will stay with all of the problems Iraq is facing, but what kind of governance will we have? Maliki or someone else, is he going to be able to form and craft a policy that will take Iraq out of the so many problems on so many fronts, economic, social, religious, sectarian, that is, political, security-wise, all services, governance in general? Or is he going to be stuck for the next 4 years talking about, who is in charge of what and who is to blame for every next failure? That is what is important. And for a country like the United States, for the region itself, in fact, if there is any wisdom that is there in several capitals, they have to look at what potential setbacks that will be there if Iraq fails to form. I mean, look what the problems that are happening from the Syrian state's failure. Look at the problems that have been happening with Egypt not trying to really form a functional political atmosphere inside its borders. Libya, etc. You can't really look at the problems of a country are problems within the border of the country. We just heard or read about reports that are some of the problems in Syria and in Iraq right now are sort of forming inside Saudi and inside several other countries. Qatar has been suffering troubles. These are never problems that are confined within a border, and that is, I think, the big picture that we have to focus on when we look at the region and the world beyond and towards the Iraqi election and what potential that could come through.
Thank you, Abbas.